All right, all right, all right. We should be live right now inside of the Financial Prosperity Circle. How are you all doing on tonight? Happy, happy, happy first of the month. As you guys know, that I like to pop in at the top of each month just to give you all some encouragement and to give you all some tips that can serve you throughout the remainder of this month, and most importantly, since this is the ending of the year, but to serve you for the remainder of this year. So the question that I have for you guys is, what are you willing and what are you desiring to accomplish by the ending of this year? How are you going to close this year out? I recently completed a 30-day challenge. And I'm super excited about it because it was very impactful just based on the feedback and um, the comments and the participation and the engagement that was happening, not only on the Facebook page here, but also on my Instagram. And one thing that I learned about myself was the main reason, I'll tell you why, the main reason why I did this challenge was to, number one, of course, help people with becoming more stronger and in control in terms of their spending when it comes to the holiday season. But more importantly, I wanted to test out my own discipline area, right? Because one of the things that I notice is that I have a tendency to start strong, but not finish strong. And so I started to question myself and ask, what are the things that are causing me not to finish strong? What are some of the reasons why I start off high, 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 and then all of a sudden I kind of plateau and then I disappear? And so when I began to ask myself those questions, I began to realize that, number one, distractions would take me off course. And so I said, okay, what were those distractions? The first distraction was, of course, anything that comes up related to my mother, right? So if something comes up, if an emergency comes up, if something that is jeopardizing my mother's health or well-being that arises to the surface, everything drops off my plate and she is my sole focus. The other thing that I realized that causes me to either plateau or not continue on is because, and this one was powerful for me, you guys, but because if I feel like what I'm sharing or what I'm doing is not being received. And so what I mean by that is if I feel like the work and the effort that I am putting in is going in vain. And so I was thinking about the past when I would, do these I would do these weekly tips and I would go into this process of editing, recording, doing all these backdrops, creating all of these designs, putting so much effort into the creation of these weekly nuggets that it never, like, I felt like it wasn't getting the I don't want to call it attention, but I feel like it wasn't being received in the way it should be. It wasn't getting acknowledged. That's what it was. It wasn't getting acknowledged in the way that I felt that it should have. And so what caused me to stop in that moment was me thinking that my efforts were going in vain. So one of the things that's a trigger for me is to feel like I'm being taken advantage of, and to also feel like I am doing something for no reason. I am a person who operates with intention. I am a person who really wants to add value to other people. And so if I feel like my efforts and my sacrifices and the things that I'm making, the creation, the things that I'm creating, the wisdom that I'm sharing is not being acknowledged or received, or at least letting me know like, hey, wave your hand, I see you. Yes, I needed to hear that kind of thing. Then I'm going to stop. And so I challenged myself this time to do a 30-day challenge. And I set the intention to say, I'm going to make sure that I show up every day in the month of November at the same time. And if it's not the same time, I'm going to communicate the change of the time, because I still wanted it to happen every day. But if there was a change in the time, then I would communicate that to let them know when it will be held that day. And then I would make it to the end. And so I feel really, really, really good because I was able to make it to the end of this challenge. And I'm going to tell you why. When I realized that there was one person who kept coming back day after day, night after night, session after session, growth work after growth work, that is what kept me going. Because I will be honest, I started to have those conversations with myself to say, I don't really think anyone's paying attention, I don't know if I'm going to continue. And then I was like, no, I got to continue. I'm just going to push through it. Even if no one shows up, I'm still going to push through it. And I just kept remembering this one person that showed up every time. And I said to myself, if I can serve one, I have done my job. If I can serve one, I have done my job. And so that caused me to continue to show up. That caused me to continue to deliver the message that I needed to deliver this season, or that was placed in me to deliver in this season for the last 30 days. And then to top it back off, I ended up having a bonus day. So I gave them one more session tonight. And so I'm sharing this with you guys because I want to ask you, as we enter into this last month of 2020, this last month of the year, what are you willing to set out to accomplish this year? What are you willing to set out to accomplish? So one of the things that I feel like I've learned, not only through this 30-day challenge, not only through this process, but just being in a space of transparency, just being in a space of honesty, just being in a space of really uncovering who I am as a business owner, who I am as a facilitator, who I am as a coach, who I am as an aspiring author, who I am as a mentor, who I am as a daughter, who I am as a friend, who I am as a child of God. When I begin to think of all of these things, I have to realize that it is not about my ego. It is not about my ego. And when I realized that the reason why I would stop in the past was because I felt like no one was listening, was because I didn't want my efforts to go in vain. But then I had to think about it. It ain't about me not wanting my efforts to go in vain. It's about what is the message that God wants me to deliver on this day. Because you never know, the day that you might give up may be the day that somebody really needed to hear what you had to say, really needed to hear the lesson that you ended up experiencing, really needed that form of encouragement. And so I had to learn throughout this process that despite it all, I have to keep going. I got to share this with you guys too, because, you guys are in the financial prosperity circle. You guys have been supporting me since day one. And I had to come to a space just last month. I really had to think, is this the right thing for me to do? Am I doing the right thing? Does this make financial sense? Do I need to close the doors of my business? Right? I was literally contemplating that. I was literally running through, how am I going to shut my operations down? And do I need to do that right now? Right? Because this is not an easy journey. So the same way it's not an easy journey for you as you navigate through your finances, it's not an easy journey on whichever journey you're taking, right? So I want to encourage you to decide what it is that you are willing to commit yourself to accomplishing for the next 30 days. You have 30 days left in the remainder of this year, 30 days left in the remainder of this month. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? What will be your intention? What do you want? So one of the things that I want is to build my consistency muscle. One of the things that I want is the divine wisdom and guidance on really how to navigate this journey. One of the things I noticed about myself as well is that I have a tendency to want to try to figure it out on my own. I have a tendency to do things on my own. And what I'm learning is I can't. And what I'm learning is I shouldn't, right? Because the more that I do that, the more burden I am putting on myself and the more time I am wasting. So when you think about what you want for your life, when you think about what you want for your finances, when you think about why you signed up for the financial goal setting course, when you think about why you signed up for the emotional intelligence resource mastery program, when you think about why you even wanted to feel and experience something new in your finances, I want you to think about how are you going to keep going in the journey? What are you learning about yourself? What do you still need to learn? What have you applied? What will you begin to apply differently? Because the same way that it's a struggle for me in different aspects and areas of my life, I know that it's a struggle for you. And so I just want to remind you guys of the space that we have here. Remind you guys of, of the efforts that are coming, that are being displayed by you guys sharing your updates, by you sharing your truths, by you sharing your vulnerable moments. And so I like to leave you guys with a message at least once a month to kind of keep you going. But I want to remind you that this is something that you have to be intentional about. And even though it's been a tough year, that doesn't mean you have to give up. No matter where you are, that does not mean you have to give up. I was on the brinks of giving up. I was on the brinks of giving up this whole entire thing, right? Because I kept asking myself, for the sake of what purpose? I feel like I'm not really seeing the harvest based on all of the efforts and the hard work that I've been putting in. But who's to say that God said that I did enough? Who's to say that I still don't have a little bit more fight and a little bit more grit to put into this thing? Who's to say? Who's to say? And so if you are feeling defeated in any way, if you are feeling deflated in any way, I want to invite you to rise up. I want to invite you to remember your why. I want to invite you to invite God into your space. I want to invite you to invite God into your conversations. I want to invite you to get clear and sit before Him. Allow Him to speak those wisdoms into you. In the same way I'm speaking to you, I'm speaking to myself because I'm inviting myself. Come on, somebody. Inviting myself to humbly become before the Lord and ask Him for that wisdom and ask Him to guide me and ask Him to tell me, what shall I do next? What shall I do next? And so my challenge for you is to share, what will you set out to accomplish by the ending of the year? And I can start the conversation and share mine. What I want to accomplish by the ending of the year is the complete production and package of my audiobook. I have been working immensely on this project, on and off, right? On and off for a very long time. And as a result of really getting clear and focusing on how I'm delivering and how I'm showing up, I said, you know what? I'm going to finish this thing this year. So before the year is out, my audio book will be packaged, finalized, edited, and ready for publication at the top of the year. So what are you going to commit yourself to accomplishing for the next 30 days or within the next 30 days? Let me know. And I want to encourage you and remind you that your financial prosperity awaits you. Stay strong. Remember all of the lessons that you learned, and don't be afraid to go back and revisit the work. All right. See you in the group soon. Good night.